Hey listener, and welcome to We Read It One Night, the podcast where two sisters invite you to join the romance revolution by recapping the books that bring us joy. Last episode, we left off at the beginning of the infamous pall game, where our enemies nearly become lovers. Listen to the conclusion of Anthony and Kate's love story in part 2 of our episode on The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. Enjoy the show.
Kate invites herself basically. She's like, "Oh, do you have room for one more?" And they're like, "Yeah, definitely. Why don't we invite Edwina too?" says Anthony. And she's like, "Fuck, I can't very well be like, no, don't invite my sister after I just invited myself." And Anthony's like, "Haha, I seize the opportunity to fuck with her. I'll go get Edwina." Kate's like, like that.
And they're like, "I'm gonna take my sweet time." And Kate is like constantly like, "Oh my god," he's
gonna take his sweet time.
He's gonna take his sweet time.
And so Kate has no choice but to go with Colin. And they meet up with Anthony's sister Daphne and her husband Simon, who were the couple from the first book in the series. And they're like debating who is gonna get what. What are they called?
They call it the mallet of death.
Mallet.
So it's the black mallet.
Yeah.
And Kate picked, Colin's like, "You're the guest, Kate. You should pick first." And so she picks the black mallet just because she's like, whatever. And then he's like, "Ooh, you picked the mallet of death. Anthony's gonna be pissed." And I don't know. I just think this like game overall, and obviously Kate like cackles at that. She's like, "Excellent, like anything to piss off Anthony." This like game is just like so important because it like shows like how well they fit into each other's families, because like family is something that's really important to both of them. The whole like the pall game, like the whole like MO of it is that they play dirty. The person who wins is not necessarily the person who like gets to the final wicket at the end. Like it's just the person who like fucks most effectively.
And they also like they all fight over who gets to set up the wickets, and they put them in like the most obnoxious, like on top of a tree root or like right next to the lake.
Yeah. And Kate can give as good as she can take. She's like, again, the same way Anthony is really like the only man that like she can respect. Kate is in many ways the only woman that like Anthony could respect, because she's the only one who can like put up with just the absolutely wild like Bridgerton mentality around Hal.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're like, "Oh, you know what'll be hilarious? It'll be just so emasculating and embarrassing. Let's hide the purple mallet and make Anthony take the pink mallet. And we'll give Eloisa blue." And so he'll be
Edwina.
Just like,
her name is Edwina.
I just like, it's a whatever, wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
Brain to mouth. Yeah. And Eloisa will get blue. And that will be just like so
oh my
embarrassing.
God.
What?
You said Eloisa again.
Oh my God. It should be Eloisa.
No. So they give Anthony the pink mallet, and I understand again, like this is written early, like 2000, but pink wasn't a girl's color until the early 20th century, and pink and blue were only established as girls and boys colors because of like what surprise, some like fucking marketing scheme to like sell people whatever. The same reason we have women's razors.
Sure, that, but I think the origin of it. I mean, think about back in the day, especially, and still today, if you have more than one child, that second child is going to be wearing the hand-me-downs, right? And you save so much money. You have to buy like way less clothes, right?
Yeah.
Previously, first child was a boy, second child was a girl, no problem, right? Same clothes. Now, the marketing geniuses out there figured out, at least like probably 50% of the public is going to have one of each. We can sell twice as many clothes. That's where it starts. And then from there on, they get you. No more hand-me-downs for you, sir.
Yeah, but it doesn't even make sense just in the way that it eventually laid out, because it wasn't even that pink was genderless. Like pink was a masculine color in like the 18th century. Yeah, like pink in like the early 18th century, early 19th century, pink was a masculine color.
Maybe it's like with names. Like names have a strong tendency to go from being completely boys' names to girls' names.
People are like, "Oh no, like pink is like so girly, like whatever." But I'm like, but then you have like fucking like, I don't know, Louis the 14th, divine right of kings with like his sexy calves, like wearing pink all over the place and like being the most masculine, hottest man ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just
sure.
Bonkers.
But it's the same as like Alison, Dana, Ashley. Like
Alison,
I could go forever.
Name.
It definitely was.
No, it's Scottish.
With two
The
L's.
diminutive is Alice.
I hate to break it to you, Alison, but on the popularity charts from 1880 to 1935 in the US, it appears only as a masculine name. And then starting up in about 1946,
How many L's?
2.
Okay, so not my name.
That's what I said. I said
not
2
Alison.
L's. I didn't say your
Right, so
name.
not. Yeah, but I'm saying Alison with 1 L is a Scottish female name. It's
Sure.
a nickname of Alice.
It's French, actually. It's French.
No, but it was popular in Scotland.
It's a Norman French diminutive of Alice. See Alice. It was common in England, Scotland, and France in the Middle Ages and was later revived in England in the 20th century via Scotland. Unlike most other English names ending in son, it is not derived from a surname. Alison. Oh my God. How did we never know this before? Oh my God. For those of you who don't know, do not go on like fucking babynames.com or just like Google what does my name mean. Fuck that. Go to the source, the the comprehensive etymology guide behindthename.com. That is where you'll get it. All right. It has everything. It has the actual etymology. It has popularity charts for like as many countries as are available.
Okay, well, Behind the Name just betrayed me by telling me that my name was French in origin.
Wouldn't you rather have the
fucking
truth?
Greek?
Dude, what?
I don't know. All right.
No.
Whatever.
It's old
Pink
French.
wasn't a girl's color at the time of this book's taking place, but whatever. Anthony rolls on down and he's waiting for Edwina, and Edwina's super late. And Anthony is like imagining the rest of his life. And he's like, I may come to regret like marrying someone who's like always late, because that's actually really fucking annoying. But then he's like, whatever. I'm only living 9 more years. Like, who cares? I'm like,
wait, it is really interesting. I don't know how I never knew this before, that Alison, the different spellings have different etymologies. They're like have completely different origins. Sorry. That's so interesting. Like how many other names are like that?
Jonathan
and John. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, John is not, contrary to what John Wick 2 would have you believe, John is not a nickname for Jonathan. If you want the nickname for Jonathan, it's going to be Jon, because that's how it's fucking spelled. But John and Jonathan have 2 completely different origins and histories.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Continue.
Anyway, Anthony realizes that he's in no way attracted to Edwina as well. And then they roll on down and they begin the game. And we have Violence is Foreplay Part 2, because they keep violently hitting each other's balls and like trying to sabotage each other. And I just, in the show, as I was reading this, I realized that like I desperately need the Pall Mall scene in the show to be like a screwball montage with like the like jaunty piano music playing in the background. You know what I'm talking about? Like, and everyone's like sped up and like running around like I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The screwball, like the 1920s screwball comedy of like jaunty like montage of like everyone like moving around and like getting into like physical comedy gags. Like that's what I want. I don't think that's what we're gonna get, but like I desperately want that. Because that's basically what this is.
Yeah. So after Anthony like screws over Kate by like getting her ball way out of the way, she brings it home by kicking his ball into the lake, which is just like immediate end game. You win. It's over.
Yeah. But she tag teams it with Colin, because Colin knocks Anthony's ball toward Kate. And Kate is like, I'm not going to win anyway. So like, I see my opportunity.
Yeah. So Anthony's like furious, obviously, but resists pushing her in the lake. And then they're all about to leave. But Edwina's like, aren't you going to get the ball out of the lake? Like you told me that you already like lost 1 ball. Like why would you want your set to get even smaller? Like it's probably not even that far in. Like you could easily just get it. And Anthony's like, grrr, like, fine, I'll have to do it for Edwina. She's like, fine, if no one else will do it, I'll do it. And he's like, well, I can't have that. So he like takes off his, he doesn't even take off his socks and shoes. Or yeah, he does.
He does. He's like, my boots already got ruined once from like the time Newton got me all wet. So like, I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah. And then Kate comes down to like check on him. And I forget why, but it's like Anthony was suddenly gripped by the most insane desire to see her toes. Like
Anthony has
like we've said this before, foot fetish,
confirmed.
Immediate, like there's no.
I totally missed that. I remember that line, but I totally missed it this time.
I forget like how the context comes up, because maybe she's like, oh, should I come in with you or something?
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's go like back. And then they realize that everyone else has left without them, so they have to walk back by themselves. And
Anthony this whole time was like, it was so weird. Like I spent the whole pal mal game staring at Kate. Like, I don't know why. I don't understand like why I was like watching her the whole time. And then he also like asks her, he's like, do you still hate me? And then she doesn't answer, but like essentially like the answer is no. And Anthony's also like, why do I care so much about her opinion? I don't understand. What is this? What are these feelings? Like, I don't.
Yeah,
what?
it's like this whole thing where he's like, oh, the reason I must have like not noticed Edwina is because I was just like so engrossed in the game. But like, oh, why was I looking at Kate then?
He was like, hang on. I was not engrossed enough in the game to not stare at Kate, even though I was engrossed enough in the game. I was too engrossed in Kate to stare at Edwina. And I'm like, that's because you love her, you dummy.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I forget whether it's at the end of the book in the epilogue or the second epilogue, but at one point, Anthony does explicitly think the Pall Mall game was when I fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, what is this feeling so sudden and new?
And it's obvious because as they're walking back, he's like whistling and like stealing glances at her when she's not looking.
So cute. He's just like he's a little boy.
Yeah. And they like, so he has come to the realization that he cares about what she thinks about him and he needs to know if she still hates him. And so he spends the majority of this walk like scheming in his head how to ask her this while still seeming cool and without giving away that he actually cares.
You can't tell a girl you like her. It makes you look like an idiot.
And they stop and he's like, oh, can I ask you a question? The expression in her eyes, a little bit curious, a little bit furious. It's like, nice. I love a good rhyme.
Good one, Julia. Good one.
Yeah. And how does he phrase it? He's like,
I have a question for you. He's like, you have to answer. You owe me a boon for like knocking my ball into the lake. And Kate is like, fine. And then we have another like similar Twilight moment in which a character promises something and then is like, oh, I shouldn't have promised that. And then like just doesn't consider once like just like going back on their like completely arbitrary promise. But so Kate is like, oh, fine. He's like, do you still hate me? And she doesn't answer him. But he's like, I thought not.
Yeah.
And he's just like on fucking cloud 9. He just like skips away. He's like, woohoo, the girl I definitely don't have a crush on doesn't hate me anymore. I just expect her to like at one point like have her hair in pigtails and him to like just pull on them at one point. Yeah. Like, that's Anthony right now.
And he's like, all right, let's go back inside. And she's like too stunned to move for some reason. Like the
woman was too stunned to speak.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, I get it. You like the outdoors. See you later. And then actually like ditches her, which is kind of rude, but whatever.
Well, they're like right outside the house. You know what I mean? Like,
so Kate's like, something's changed. There's something there that wasn't there before. And she's like, so shook. She goes back inside and she's like waiting for Mary and Edwina to be ready, but they like take forever. So she like goes out into the hallway somehow and runs into Penelope Featherington. Woo. And they're like friends, even though this is really the only interaction we get with them.
Well, we did get earlier when I was talking about Lady Whistledown, it was talking about Lady Whistledown Kate wore like a yellow dress and Lady Whistledown compared her to like a singed daffodil. And Kate's like, finally, I'll have something to say every time Penelope Featherington brings up being compared to like a lemon or like whatever she was compared to. Like,
she's like, it's become like a mark of pride. Like it's like a compliment to be insulted by Lady Whistledown. Yeah. Are we gonna?
No.
Okay.
We will when we talk about the show, but I don't think we should do this now.
So Kate and Penelope are like, all right, we'll go down to dinner together because, you know, both of our families are being slow. And so they're like chatting, they're bonding.
Oh, wait. Sorry. No, I just wanted to say before because Penelope, this is her second season out, even though she's like Edwina's age. And she's like, it sucked that I was out last season because I was like fatter then. She's like, I've lost 2 stone since then. For those of you not in the know about arbitrary British measuring system, a stone is about 14 pounds. And I know pounds are also arbitrary, but I don't know how many kilograms it is. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you.
So Penelope has lost like 30 pounds.
2 stone is about 14 kilograms.
Okay.
Like
so Penelope has lost approximately 30 pounds or 14 kilograms. And I just don't, I mean, she's still supposed to be like chubby, but I just like, And again, Julia Quinn's writing this in like the early 2000s at like the peak of
Right.
diet culture when you could literally write a book called like How Not to Be Fat and Ugly and Get a Man, and it could be like
Yep.
a New York Times bestseller for like
And pitch to like
years.
12-year-olds.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So like I understand like product of its time and like whatever, like people are allowed to lose weight and not be shamed for it. Like it's not inherently like body positive. But I'm also just like in terms of like this being written in the Regency era, and this is one thing that like I still haven't gotten past when it comes to historicals, when heroines who are like chubby are like, oh, it's so bad, like only the slender girls get the
Right.
men. And I'm like, in the Regency era?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there was a certain ideal like body shape, but like the ladies needed to have like having fat
Right.
was like viewed as a good like a status symbol. Like it was a good thing. The like super skinny model thing didn't come around until the end of like the 20th
Yeah.
century.
And there's always like half-assed attempts. Like here, like Kate is like, she's described as like, oh, her lips are too full to be fashionable, which like obviously today that would not be a problem. But like,
Yeah.
okay, like sure. But like it's always things like that are like, it's only the things that are like good looking today, but like would have been not good looking back then. It's never the things that were like good looking then, but like, shame today.
Yeah, right. Because if someone actually good looking in the Regency era, like looks like fucking Jane from 1995 Pride and Prejudice, and I'm not dunking on that actor, but like she definitely wouldn't be considered like mega hot by any of our
By
modern
today's
standards.
yeah.
It's like the Grecian, like the Roman, like profile, which is not
right.
Yeah, it's just like one of the things that like consistently like just irks me a little bit in like all historicals, and it's still a thing that happens of like, or even like I saw someone talking about online about how in like alien romances they're like, I'm always so annoyed when like the girl comes and like, yes, she's I guess technically ugly by alien terms, but she's like definitely like hot by like all earth things. They're
Right.
like, I'm annoyed when you like when it's like a human like living on an alien planet and she's like, I'm so ugly, like I just don't stick out because I don't have a tail or like whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like the description of her is like, okay, so she's actually just like fucking conventionally attractive, and you just wanted to like write the quote unquote like ugly heroine trope without actually making an ugly heroine.
Right. Like, why is it never someone who's conventionally unattractive by Earth standards, but like is magically super hot by alien standards?
Like, listen, give me heroines with like big noses and like frizzy hair and like crooked teeth. Like, come on. Like,
yeah, don't just be like my lips have natural lip filler and
like, oh,
therefore I'm
no, poor
hideous.
me.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
And listen, again, I want to say anyone with like a big nose or like whatever, any of those things I said, you're beautiful. This is not me saying that those things are ugly. I'm just saying society in general views those things as conventionally unattractive. So like, yeah. Basically, I just want heroines who are like actually ugly. I also want heroes. Like, I want some heroes with dad bods. I know romance is a little bit of like wish fulfillment, but like I want heroes with dad bods sometimes.
Anthony is no ape leading Amazon. He's only 6'1". So
Oh my god. Anyway, yeah. So Kate and Penelope are bonding.
Oh yeah. And so Penelope is talking about how hard it was for her last season, and it's like better now, but she still doesn't really like it. And especially this one bitch, Cressida Cowper.
Yeah.
Cressida Cowper. Penelope like accidentally made her like spill a drink or something, like, and Cressida blames that on some guy not proposing to her.
Yeah. Which they did actually incorporate into the show.
Did they?
Yeah, there's like, I mean, it's not like the Duke, it's like Colin. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. In the show, Cressida spills her drink on Penelope. And Colin is like, fuck you, bitch, let's dance, Penelope.
Yeah, so Cressida is like a bully. Cressida comes over and she starts like dunking on Penelope. She's like, oh yeah, like it's so good that you're not like as ugly anymore, even though you're still ugly, like whatever. And she calls over this like guy to like be like, oh, doesn't Penelope look so pretty? And he's like, no. Like there's like
classic middle school like nonsense.
Well, it's not even sophisticated enough to be like middle school. Like it's not even like
it's high school nonsense.
Yeah, it's too obvious. And so they're just like chatting when Anthony comes over, and he's like, hello to Kate and Penelope. But when Cressida says hello, he gives her the cut direct, which if you're not aware, that just means like looking at someone and pretending like they're not even there and you've never met them in your life and you can't.
And like specifically like turning your back. Like there's like
Right.
a physical component. You just like turn your back to them. You're like, not today,
Right.
bitch.
Right.
Super embarrassing for Cressida.
Yeah. And Anthony is like Penelope, would you walk into dinner with me? Which is like a big deal because normally, you know, he's the head of the house. So, and he's like the host. So he'd normally be walking in with like the highest social standing lady.
Which is not actually a thing in the Regency era. The whole
No.
like walking in a specific order according to rank
sure,
into
though?
dinner didn't become a thing until the Victorian era. So this is
Well,
only like 15, 20 years too early.
Wait, but I thought, isn't Pride and Prejudice actually, there's like debate about whether it's actually set like a little bit earlier in the Regency era, right?
Do they walk in specific order?
Because Lydia is like, Jane, I must go first because I'm a married woman. Jane, you go lower.
That's sitting at the table. I'm not talking about sitting at the table because that wasn't like, you did have certain positions.
I think
sitting
it was
at the
to walk
table.
in.
I'm talking about walking into dinner in order of rank. Didn't become like a big thing until the Victorian era.
I thought
The same way dance cards weren't a thing until the Victorian era, but there are dance cards in this book.
no, Jane.
That's
They're
sitting down
they're
at the table.
passing. No, they're passing through the hall to the dining parlor. She then joined them soon enough to see Lydia, with anxious parade, walk up to her mother's right hand and hear her say to her eldest sister, "Ah, Jane, I take your place now, and you must go lower
Yes,
because
that's
I am a
sitting-
married woman."
That's sitting.
No, they're
at the
walking
table.
into the dining parlor.
No, they're at the table. At her mother's right hand is at the table.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm just saying the
They just
walking
made it
into
more.
dinner, but it's the same thing as the dance cards. Like dance cards were also, they didn't have paper. Paper was way too expensive for people to have dance cards every night.
They made it more
in
extra.
the Regency era.
Yeah.
So that was like a Victorian era thing. So it's
Sure.
like not super inaccurate, but it's like 20 years too early at least.
I guess it's simultaneously more extra, but also like at least you get into line earlier, so it's like harder to fuck up, I guess, once you get into the table.
Sure.
So Kate's like, you know, she's like, oh, well, he's like a total jerk, but like that was really nice of him to do, like to
He's
stand
a
up for
quote unquote
Penelope.
hero.
Yeah. Okay.
She's describing it to Edwina later. She's like, he was a hero. And I understand that Kate needs to start seeing Anthony in a good light. And like, that's why this thing with Penelope is necessary. But he's still admitted to never never gonna be loving her sister despite wanting to marry her. However, I do like that, like, ultimately over the course of the book, like, it's Anthony who has to change. Like, Anthony has to like really like show, like, grovel almost through his, I'm not like fully grovel, but like grovel through his actions. Like, he has to like really make the big effort. Whereas Kate, the only thing she really has to unlearn is like her her pride and prejudice against Anthony, but like her personality still like generally stays the same, whereas Anthony sort of has to have the big shift.
And kind of in a parallel to the Anthony being able to smell Kate from across the room, Kate's like, I could sense him across the room the whole night.
I love it.
Yeah. So the next morning, it's like raining, I guess. Or no, it's not raining. It's finally not raining anymore because it had rained the night before, right? Oh, no. Tonight it's raining.
This is the thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Okay. So at Pall Mall game, they were all like, oh, it looks like rain. It's going to rain tonight. And now this evening, there is a thunderstorm. And Kate, my friends, if you thought the bee thing was silly, get ready for Kate being afraid of thunderstorms.
And it's not that it's inherently silly to be afraid of thunderstorms. It's just like, honestly, it felt less ridiculous the second time I read it. But the first time I was like, this is just so like, a demon. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. The thing that I realize now is like both Kate and Anthony like have these seemingly childish fears. You know, these fears that we traditionally associate with kids that are both rooted in their childhood trauma. So like Anthony's fear of bees is like obviously rooted in like his dad dying. But then Kate, we learn later, like Kate's fear of thunderstorms is like her mom died during a thunderstorm. There was this whole dramatic scene with that. And like that's why she has this like trauma with thunderstorms, but like she doesn't remember it. So they both have these like childhood trauma. And so it lends like, it like helps counteract the like surface level silliness.
So Kate does not have a good time in thunderstorms, and her Mary and her dad used to know about it when she was little and used to like comfort her through it. But as she got older, she was like embarrassed and started hiding it. So no one in her family knows that she still has a problem with this. So she wakes up. She's like, I'm never gonna, or she doesn't wake up. She's laying in bed. She can't fall asleep because she's thinking about Anthony. And she's like, all right, I might as well like go to the library and get a book if I'm not gonna be able to sleep. So she goes to the library and she's like debating what to get when the thunder and lightning start in earnest. And she immediately starts having a panic attack. She's like on the floor, like curled up, like fetal position. And Anthony was like, I'm not tired. I'm going to stay up and do my books. And he's like just gotten done with that when he walks by the library and sees a candle still burning. And he's like, oh my gosh, these house guests are so irresponsible. Don't they realize that books are flammable? These idiots. So he goes in to turn off the candle when he notices Kate.
Kate's under the desk. She's freaking out. She's not a fan. Anthony crawls on. No, I don't know whether the desk. She's under a table or something. They like to be under things in this book. And yet there is not one like closet makeout scene. Again, missed opportunity, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But Anthony comforts her and they like have a little bonding moment and they talk about their parents and how they both have a dead parent. And like Kate is like, yeah, but I love Mary. Like she's my own mom. And they both like talk about how they feel like they have to be strong for their families and like take care of their families and like how they have to shoulder that burden and like, they just like bond. They have like very similar traumas and like mindsets or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's like very important for them to be friends first, like more so than like necessarily in other historicals. Cause I feel like in historicals, it's usually like, immediately, fuck, this is sexual tension. But like in this one in particular, and I guess in like most enemies to lovers, I feel like it's like important for like them to have a level of respect for each other first. That's like outside of having the hots. And after this, because Anthony has been so good, Kate decides that she can no longer stand in the way of Edwina's marriage to Anthony. And so she's going to give him her permission. And I'm like, she's like, it would be selfish of me to like continue standing in the way. And I'm like, no, bitch, you know what's selfish? Letting your sibling marry someone who you're into and also who you have kissed. Like,
yeah.
Girl, no. Like both of them have this like such like they just like martyr themselves constantly for their siblings. And I'm like, get over yourselves, you dummies. Like this is why you're perfect for each other. Like just both have your heads of each other's asses.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it really is a real enemies to lovers because so many times I'm like, wow, Anthony, I'm like really don't even like how disdainful, like he's just like so disdainful of her. And I know that like it's supposed to be him like fighting his true feelings, but like it really just does feel like he's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't love it. Yeah.
I mean, she is like openly mean to him like from the get-go.
From the
like very first time they she's like shit talking him to his brother before she's even met him.
But he deserves it.
But like why? Because he's a slut? Like why are you slut shaming Anthony, Kate?
Because
like, what has he actually done?
A 17-year-old.
Okay, but she doesn't that's not the problem she has. I'm just saying, like, Kate is like, I recognize that Anthony is a big dick, but like Kate is like mean to him like from the get-go. Like there's never a point in which she like gives him the benefit of the doubt.
I guess.
Whatever. So Kate is walking in the garden, she's being angsty. The next morning.
It's sunny.
Anthony sees her again walking
through
in
the
garden,
window.
and he's like, I must go.
It gives very strong 2005 Pride and Prejudice proposal vibes because it's like early morning. She's like out in the field. He like goes out to like find her. Yeah, misty. Like,
and I can't for the life of me remember exactly what I was thinking about when I wrote this down. But Anthony is like, I don't know. He's thinking about how him and Kate bonded and how he like, I think how he like shared his fears and like things with Kate that he like hasn't shared with anyone. And how he was like, wow, that's like, it's almost like talking to people and like developing like mutually beneficial relationships is like a positive for like my mental and emotional health. It's insane. And for some reason, all I could think of, and I wish I could remember the exact line that triggered me thinking this, but you know that goat meme where the quote, if we want the rewards of being loved, we must submit to the mortifying ordeal of being known. And how that's
meme?
like, okay, so that quote, it's such like a profound quote. It sounds like something from like something, but it's actually from this like New York Times like op-ed piece in which this guy was like, I've been raising goats and I sent out an email to like all my colleagues to like share with them about my goats. And then I was accidentally CC'd on an email that someone sent someone else making fun of me and my goats. And then he says like, if we want the rewards of being loved, we must submit to the mortifying ordeal of being known.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, that's just basically Anthony right now.
Oh, it's so mean.
I know. I felt so bad for the goat man. But yeah, Anthony's like,
goats.
Anthony, I must be emotionally vulnerable in order to have healthy relationship. What? Like, does not compute.
Yeah. But he still like won't admit he's in love with Kate, but he's still like, oh, I have to marry, like, everything about her is absolutely wrong for my wife candidate. And this just brings me back, like, if he won't admit he's in love with her, why isn't she an equally good wife candidate? Like, she's good looking, smart.
Because
He won't fall in love with her, supposedly.
No, he admits that he could fall in love with her. That's the
I
thing. He's like,
guess.
there's that spark with Kate that doesn't exist with other women. And despite the fact that he's still ignoring his feelings, Kate officially gives her permission
Mhm.
to Anthony to marry Edwina. And Anthony, like, despite having been gunning for this for like the last month, is so pissed. He's like, how dare she? Rude. Like, God, that's what the heck? That's not what I want at all. Like, how can she not read my mind? But he's still like, I guess, like, I do have to marry Edwina. But then fate intervenes in the form of
a bee. A bee. I hope it's not any of the sentient bees from the Bee Movie, because it's going to end up dead, but it's a bee.
Yeah. Wait, no, I was thinking about that. It's like super fucked. It does not make sense evolutionarily. Is that how you say that? Is that a word?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense by evolution standards that bees would fucking die after stinging.
It makes
sense like, what?
From the context of, like, they're all clones and they all just exist to protect the hive, protect the queen. I don't know why they have to die, but maybe that was just like the cheapest way to like evolve like that, you know?
I'm
like
just
maybe
saying, wasps
there was
don't
just
die.
Right, but maybe like wasps aren't as much like that, you know? Like from the bee perspective, I guess, like, for whatever reason, their genes were like, the best way for us to propagate is to keep the queen safe. And it was like costly. There was no pressure, costly, you know, it was costlier to have them survive. So it was just like, you know what? Why create a mechanism whereby the intestines are not connected to the stinger? We'll just have it all be one big piece. Because it doesn't matter if the individual bee dies.
Yes. So also, we're once again adding to the Bridgerton canon. This bee is not one of the sentient bees from the Bee Movie, so rest assured, it is just a regular bee. This bee is not Jerry Seinfeld.
Which is I just remember, like, it's part of the theme song for the show, and it's like this, like, happy.
Of what
there's
show?
like a Bridgerton.
Oh,
the series,
yeah.
remember?
I thought you were talking about Seinfeld. I was like, there's a bee in Seinfeld?
What did you say about Seinfeld?
Jerry Seinfeld is the bee in Bee Movie.
Oh,
Jerry
really?
Seinfeld created the Bee Movie.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking of the Bridgerton show.
Oh my God. What if in season 2 they had a talking bee and it was just Jerry Seinfeld?
When it died.
They just had like a fucking
the bee who'd been like watching. This is like his form of entertainment.
The bee becomes
time
Lady
to get together.
Whistledown.
Yeah. What a twist. So there's a bee, and Kate's like, "Oh, there's a bee. Like, whatever. Stop distracting me."
Wait,
and
what were you
Anthony's
saying?
like,
You were saying something about the Bridgerton theme song.
Oh, I just feel like it's supposed to be like happy-go-lucky and just like a fun like spring scene, but like really, is it a threat? Like it's how the father died. Like,
and no, but they constantly, like, even the costuming of the show has like all of the Bridgertons, like Anthony particularly is constantly having like bees embroidered into his like shirts, and like there's like constant bee motifs everywhere. And I'm like, this is just seems very dark. I was like, I don't think this is given the message that you guys think it does. Like, the bees are murderers according to the
message
Bridgerton
is that
family.
we imbibe that which weakens us and it makes us
stronger. Maybe it's like keep your enemies close.
Yeah.
Like, keep your enemies close. Yeah. The bee is the mortal enemy of Bridgerton house.
Yeah.
So they like purposely put out, and Anthony does he does think when the bee appears how he's like, yeah, I constantly was like sometimes I just like put myself near bees to like tempt
I like to live on the edge. I mean, it's like putting like a dragon on your family crest or something, like, because you're a dragon ate your granddaddy, so yeah. So Kate's like, whatever, like, I've been stung before, it's not a big deal.
She says she's specifically has been stung multiple times, so we know there's no chance of her having an allergic reaction.
No, it can appear anytime. It's just like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, stop, don't move. And she's like, chill, like, get away from me. And he's like, no, don't move. And then he's like flustering the bee so much that it ends up like stinging her on the boob. But, like, not really on
right
the boob,
above
like,
her boob, like right below
her like collarbone, but
yeah.
like But
On the boob.
Anthony is like, I need to suck out the venom, which for the record does not work.
Forget what episode we said that is. We have
Twilight.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work in Twilight. It doesn't work in snake lore. It certainly doesn't work for bee venom, which I'm pretty sure is like goes in like subcutaneously. Like it doesn't even like go into your fucking veins. But whatever.
Because Anthony, he pulls out the stinger, and he's like, no, it's still red. It's swollen. I must suck the venom out.
And as he's like sucking
on her
what
boob.
looks like her boob, round the corner come Mary, Mrs. Bridgerton, and the coup de grace,
Lady
Bridgerton, and the coup de grace, Mrs. Featherington, who is number one gossip queen after Lady Whistledown at this point. And they're immediately like, well, obviously Violet and Mary are ready to like let it slide, but Mrs. Featherington is like, they have to get married. And Kate's like, no, we don't. And she's like, you have to, or else I will tell everyone. And Anthony's like, I will fuck you up if you tell anyone.
But Mrs. Featherington is like, Lud, girl, he has his mouth on your boobies, and we all saw it. And what did you like the bubbies? Like on your bubbies. And I'm like, is Mrs. Featherington like a Jewish grandmother from like the Bronx? Like I don't understand.
From like 1990, like what?
Like
modern day.
Is this the nanny? Like I don't get it.
So
they're like you're in full view of the house. So even if we all agree not to talk, someone still could have seen you.
Yeah,
so you have to get married. And Kate is very much like, no, absolutely not. And Anthony on the outside is like, well, this sucks, but like I guess like, well, we have to marry because like we're people of honor. But Anthony on the inside is like cackling like the evil bald dude from like Austin Powers, but like in a nice way. He's like, I'm also imagining like Jim Carrey just like smiling, like Grinch or not Grinch. Like just generally Anthony's like, well, if I have to, but this also fucking rocks. But like I'm definitely not gonna fall in love with her. But like maybe I'm already in love with her. Like I don't know. He's like, this is amazing.
Yeah. The bee is just so absurd as the mech. It feels kind of like a cop out because at this point, like we're already building towards the point where he's like basically mad that he thinks she wants him to marry Edwina. And I feel like we could have easily gotten there naturally with like just a little more, you know? We didn't need the bee. The bee felt like a forced push those like last few meters when we would have just like, anyway.
But I do feel like in some ways, like
just
Anthony would have fought harder against the marriage if he like genuinely didn't want it. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying he could have gotten to the point of wanting it.
I don't know that he ever would have let himself want it.
I don't know. Anyway, it's almost time for the wedding. Kate has spent the past like several weeks shopping with Violet.
Wait,
what?
Sorry, if we forgot. So they go off and they make out in a gazebo. And
oh yeah,
Kate is like now scared. Oh well, Anthony is first like, "Do you feel how much I want you?" He like presses his dick against her. And he's like, "Of course you don't. You're such an innocent." And I'm like, classic historical, like classic.
Yeah.
Kate is now scared that Anthony is gonna wish that he'd married Edwina, and I'm like, Kate, don't be scared. Like we all like I'm sitting here like this dummy. No, Kate, that would have been the case if he had married Edwina. He would have been wishing he was marrying you. Like let's simmer down. And at the end of the chapter, like when Kate is like thinking, she's like, I'm glad that she's like, I'm falling in love with him. Like I'm glad they were getting married, but I'm also scared. And she has the line like, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. And I know that's like a famous quote, but all I could think of was like the Pussycat Dolls song. That's like, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. You just might. It's When I Grow Up by the Pussycat Dolls.
When I grow up, I don't remember that part. Yeah.
And I was like, and that song did come out after. Initially, I was like, was Julia Quinn listening to the Pussycat Dolls while writing this book? But no, that song did come out well after this book.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the Pussycat Dolls are not confirmed inspiration for Julia Quinn.
Yeah, sad. We also get Kate doing the classic Bella Swan line of like, once I make a decision, there's no point in delaying it. And that's why she's like, okay with the wedding being soon, because like that'll make the gossip die down faster too. So she spends the next few weeks like barely seeing Anthony, going shopping with with Lady Bridgerton, and for some reason Edwina and Mary like ditch her and make her go shopping with her mother-in-law, but like whatever.
Edwina also this whole time is just like, I fucking knew it. I knew he was in love with you. And Kate is like, he's not fucking in love with me. And Edwina's like, yes, he fucking is. And like, I just love, again, I love the trope where like everybody knows that these two dweebs are in love except for the two dweebs.
Mm-hmm.
It's lovely. Yeah, so Anthony is like, sends her a note. He's like, I'm gonna come to your house at 4:00 on like whatever day. And Kate like doesn't tell Edwina and Mary so that she can be alone with him. And he comes in and basically explains, he's like, I'm never gonna love you. Like, don't expect love. Don't fall in love with me. Like, we're just gonna have hot sex and like we're gonna be friends, but like this is definitely not gonna be love. And Anthony is like, I'm a manly man and I can control my emotions, and I'm definitely not gonna fall. I'm definitely not already in love with her. She's also wearing like a lace cap.
Oh yeah.
And Anthony is like, oh my god, that cap is so fucking ugly, which like, I'm much as I'm loath to agree with Anthony, like it's true. Like just think, if you want to know what this cap looked like, just like picture any sort of the famous like pictures of Jane Austen, like that ugly ass like lace like shower cap thing that she's wearing.
Mrs. Bennet in bed, like
yeah,
when
it's
Lydia
just,
has run away
hideous,
with Wickham.
And Anthony like knocks it off her head, and then Newton starts chewing on it, and she's like, "That was my favorite cap. Like, I'm gonna get your mom to buy me a new one." And Anthony is like, "My mom would never let you buy something as ugly as that.
Yeah.
Am I right?" And Kate was like, "Yeah, like she wouldn't let me buy." And Anthony's like, "Good."
Yep.
So they make out. Then he gives her an engagement ring, which was not a thing at this time. I mean, the things that like looked like engagement rings, like he gives her a ring, it's like an emerald whatever, like it's not just the plain gold band, which was like, but those were like the wedding rings, like the fancy rings. Like you didn't get an engagement ring, you just had that fancy ring like as your wedding ring. And then the guy didn't wear a wedding ring because like men don't wear wedding rings in the British aristocracy, I don't know why. And she's like, oh, this is such a pretty ring, it's cute. And Anthony is purring at this point, catscale. And he's also like constantly like reliving his sex dream. He's like constantly like, oh my god, I can't fucking wait to like reenact that, like it's gonna be amazing. And Anthony then leaves and he's like, that went well. And Kate was like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck was that dumbass saying like this whole time? Like, oh my god, like that was so fucking stupid that like he like was talking like that. And I just love that, like it's like very like the way it's placed in the book is like very comedic, where like Anthony is like, that went great, like wow, so glad we're on the same page. And then it flashes to Kate being like, what the fuck just happened?
So flash forward like 2 days, and it's the night before Kate's wedding, and she's chatting with Edwina, waiting for Mary to show up to give her the big sex talk. And Edwina like also thinks that she's going to be allowed to be part of this, but like why not? Like I can't believe that Kate doesn't even tell Edwina. Like what is the point of having an older sister? Like also, what was the logic? I don't know. I never like really questioned this. I just kind of assumed it was just like one of those like vague purity culture things. But, like what was the logic of not telling women about sex until like right before their wedding? Is it the same thing as like the we can't make being a lesbian illegal because it will give them ideas? Like, is it the same as that?
Yeah.
Like
you can't make them in any way. You have to like scare them. You have to teach them like it's shameful, or they'll like have sex and get pregnant and die before marriage. As long as they're married, it's okay if they die. But like if not.
Yeah, I just don't. And then I was trying to Google this and I found something about how they used to think that like female orgasm was necessary for conception. Yeah. Which obviously it's not. But like I feel like those two things are like, I feel like the whole like shame thing is like very incompatible with the like you need to get off to have kids, which is your number one duty. Like, I mean, if true, good. Like that should have stayed part of the medical literature, because like I feel like we'd be in a much better place just as a society if that was still like state of the art. Like,
agreed. But yeah, this whole time I was like screaming at the page. I was like, educate your daughters about sex. Like, come on, let Edwina stay in.
And then Mary doesn't even tell her.
Yeah, Kate is like, well, I've seen animals fucking, so like I know the mechanics. And Mary's like, whew, glad I don't have to talk about that. So she's not as bad as like Violet in the first book, where Violet just like doesn't tell Daphne anything about anything. But Mary is still like, yeah, you have to be in love to orgasm. Like men don't need to be in love to orgasm, but like women do. And I'm like, Mary, fuck right off with that. Like, why don't you know what you should all do? No one should get married. You should go off to like a sex retreat in the countryside and all learn to masturbate. That's what you all need to do.
I would quibble with that exact phrasing, because more of what she says is like men can get off with like any woman, but like the man is like critical, which man it is like critical, which, and she doesn't just say like to orgasm, she's like for it to be like not unpleasant, you know what I mean, to be like at all like durable, like
Yeah.
enjoyable, because it seems like Mary's first husband was like really shitty, and I feel like that's, I mean, that's, well, that's true to some extent
No,
for like
but
both
she's like, there
partners,
has
like
to
you
be
need
some
your part,
feeling
I guess,
for the woman.
but I don't
know,
think
that
that's
was
all
the
she's
thing.
saying. She's also saying they have to like not be a total asshole and like
Yeah, but like I don't know, but it was in comparison to the men thing. She's like, men can get it off with any woman,
yeah,
but women
Mhm.
can't get it off with any man. And I was like, well, neither of those is true. But anyway, this instills a lot of doubt in Kate's head because she's like, is he going to be picturing someone else when they were
right,
having
yeah.
sex?
And so they get married, and then they're like in the coach on the way to their new house. And Kate is like, Anthony, do you mind if we like wait a week or something? And she's literally like, oh, he's still smiling because he must not understand what I'm saying, because he would obviously be mad if he understood. And then he finally does get it, that she's like asking to wait to have sex. And he does get mad. And I'm like, sir, this is like the biggest, this is like literally like, it's like marital coercion. Like when your partner gets like angry at you, it's like total, like huge red flag. Like, and she's like, well,
Yeah.
obviously he has every right to drag me off to bed. Like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, he gets concerned for a minute. He's like, oh, why do you feel this way? Has a man ever forced unwelcome attentions on you? And I'm like, yeah, you right now. Like, it's you, sir. You're the bad. He's like, I cannot wait a week. I simply cannot do it. And I'm like, all right, like, dude, I feel like there's nothing that's going to make someone not want to have sex with you more than like every time they don't feel like it, you get angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just
to be fair, Kate, I mean, Anthony obviously doesn't know this, but Kate's perspective is less like, I don't want to have sex, and more like, I'm feeling insecure because I think he's like, because Mary has put this stupid doubt in my mind about him thinking of other ladies when we're fucking. So anyway, but they do obviously eventually fuck because obviously. And Anthony is like stripping and Kate's like staring at him. She's like, oh my God, a naked man. And he's like, you've never seen a naked man before, have you? And she's like, no. And he's like, you'll never see another. And I just really, I know it's fucked up. I know it's kind of fucked up, but like, I really love those kinds of lines in historicals. I just like really dig them. In historicals only, not in contemporaries unless they're mafia romances.
Sure.
But in historicals, 100%.
Sure. I like it usually. For some reason, my mind was still really stuck on the hypocrisy of like Anthony allegedly being a rake. I'm like, all right, why are you? Yeah, I don't know.
Anthony is also at this point, he's like, this is going to be so good. I'm going to make sure that Kate is obsessed with me. Like, because I'm so good in bed. But I am definitely no way Jose going to be obsessed with her. Absolutely not. Not going to go both ways. And I'm like, you are literally so dumb.
I know.
You're just such a fool. But then Rachel, he crawled toward her like a feral cat. And ladies and gentlemen, if you were wondering where my idea for the cat scale came to be, it was this line in this book, in the very first romance I read as an adult. This was the line where I was like, a cat? And then I read more romance and I was like, a cat? And like so many of historical romance, particularly written around this era, were describing men as cats. And I was like, what is going on here? And this, my friends, this is the origin of the cat scale. This moment right here in this book. That line, he crawled toward her like a feral cat.
Man.
He also later smiled slowly like a cat.
Do we get any mewling from Kate?
No, but definitely a lot of growling and purring from Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
He also, at one point, he's like sexily taking off her gloves, but because she's wearing her rings over her gloves, he like takes off her rings and puts them between her boobs. And I just always get like, I know like it's supposed to be sexy, but, and I know this is very me specific, but I always get like the bad shivers when I'm like, oh, metal on skin. I don't like
cold.
That.
Yeah.
It's just no, it's just like grody metal. It's the same reason I don't like change. Like I just don't like touching change. It's very like,
but they come from your fingers though.
I understand. It has nothing to do with like, the dirtiness.
It's
just like the warm metal.
No, I'm saying you're feeling it on your finger. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just I don't like it.
So this first time they have sex, time for magical penetration only orgasm. The first time she has sex, all we get from Anthony is one of his hands, like a little flick. Like he just touches her once. Yeah. He
explores her mouth with lips and tongue. And I was like, where are the teeth? Where are the teeth, Anthony? Where are the lips and teeth and tongue?
Yeah.
And he's also like, I know it's definitely going to hurt, the first time. And I'm like, no, it only hurts the first time if she's not aroused enough. The vagina is a muscle. It's a muscle. If you warm it up, unless he has a monster cock. But this also brings me to the point in which Anthony is like, I do appreciate that he is like going very slowly and he like tickles her to like try to make it not hurt. But we got the good old fashioned, and again, this is like very like historicals written around this time and earlier, of where he like goes in and he's like, I could feel my dick against her hymen, against her maidenhead.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, bro, no, you cannot. No, you absolutely cannot. Fuck right off. Like, what are you doing? But like, that's a classic. And then they're fucking, they're really going at it. And Anthony calls Kate beautiful. And Kate immediately is like, oh my God, he must be picturing someone else because I'm not beautiful. And Anthony's like, what is going on? Why are you crying? And then she's like, you called me beautiful. Are you picturing Edwina? And Anthony's like, are you fucking kidding me? And then he gives her this whole speech about how he's like had the hots of her forever. And he says, I burn for you. And justice for Anthony for having his line stolen by Simon in Bridgerton Netflix, because Simon never fucking says I burn for you in the book. Anthony is the one that says it. And now his phrase has been co-opted by very, very hot Regé-Jean Page.
Jeez.
Rude. Justice for Anthony.
It is rude.
He had his line stolen. But yeah, then they both come because, of course, she came from penetration the first time she had sex with absolutely no other stimulation besides kissing of any time. And I do like this role reversal because I feel like often in historicals, it's always like the girl who's like sleepy after sex, who like just curls into a side and like falls asleep. But like this time it's Anthony, and Kate is like, are we done yet? And Anthony is like, oh my fucking God, this is amazing. Like, she has such a sexual appetite. And he's like, for now, like, we're going to take a nap and then we're going to go back at it.
So we now like sort of get like a little slideshow of like the next few weeks of them being married, when basically Anthony completely ditches Kate all day, every day to go hang out at his club and do nothing.
And pretend that he's not in love with her.
But they like meet up at night to go to balls and stuff. And like
up.
Lady Whistledown is like, he's totally in love with her. He always like dances with her way more than necessary.
But also there's the one scene that's cute where she's like, he like nearly knocked over this like old lady in his haste to like get to Kate. You know, he's like bowling through the ground.
Yeah. And Kate's just like meeting all these like visitors and stuff and like hanging out with her family. And Edwina comes to visit her one day. And this just like made me realize like just how much Kate completely loses interest in gatekeeping who Edwina dates / marries as soon as she gets Anthony. Like, she's just like, so I don't know. And Edwina had previously said that she wants to marry a scholar, and she has now met a nice scholar at the house party. And Edwina's like, yeah, I'm actually like so relieved that you are now married rich, because that means I can like not have as much pressure on me.
Yeah. And Kate's like, oh wow, I didn't realize. Like, she does feel guilty. His name also, so Edwina's suitor is Mr. Bagwell. He is an archaeologist who has been to Greece multiple times. And I'm like, yeah, but how much should he take? How much thievery are we talking, Edwina? Like, this archaeologist coming back from Greece, like, did he perchance help bring the Elgin marbles over? Like, is that the level that we're talking about? Like, Mr. Bagwell, colonizer, TM?
Yeah. God.
Edwina is talking about how she's in love with her colonizer boyfriend, Mr. Bagwell, who's a nice guy, but also steals a lot of antiquities from Greece. That's canon. And Anthony rolls in and just like basically like adopts Edwina. He's like, yep, you're my new sister. And I was just like, we just had a sex scene between you and Kate. And I just like can't help thinking about how you were planning on fucking Edwina like not 2 weeks ago.
It just seems so icky. He's like, yeah, hey sis. Like, and he does, to his credit, he's planning to give her a dowry, because he was originally planning to give Kate a dowry when he was planning to marry Edwina. He's like, oh, am I not magnanimous? But like, yeah, what the fuck? You're like coming in here, this like 17-year-old that you previously had your sights set on. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, he came home. He was like, I don't know why I came home. Like, it's just so weird. Like, I want to hang out with my wife. Like, I don't get it. Yeah, so Edwina leaves, and Anthony's like, I'm going to provide a dowry for her. Like, I'm going to, like, treat her as, like, my own sister. And Kate like is really happy, and Anthony is just like such a little boy. Like he's like so proud of himself for making Kate happy. He's like, oh, well done.
Yeah. Also, just as a side note, he mentions, or like they mentioned that Eloise and Edwina have become fast friends. Does that ever come back in Eloise's book? Does Edwina
No.
like ever? No.
No.
Okay. So like
Also,
fast
Eloise
friends.
is very different. I noticed. I made a note of this earlier, and I make a note of it later. Eloise is very different in the book than she is in the show. You know, like Eloise in the book is very excited about coming out. Like she explicitly earlier, like in the ball scene, in the musicale scene, she's like, "Yeah, it's so great. My mom's letting me come to this musicale so I can like get a chance, get a taste of society before I officially come out next year." And then like later on, like her and Kate interact, and she's like much more childlike, even though she's the same age as Edwina. She's very much like, "Yeah, haha, I was spying on Anthony. Like it was so fun. Like woohoo." You know what I mean? It's just completely antithetical to Eloise in the
That's
show at
probably
this age.
because she was like allowed to be a child.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's just what I'm saying. I mean, Eloise in the show is very. I mean, I think it also doesn't help that she's played by someone who like very clearly is not a 17-year-old, but she's much more like Eloise like smokes in the show.
Yeah.
She's like smoking cigs on the reg and is like feminism for all. And like in the book at this age, I mean, Eloise like later on in her own book is definitely closer to like how she is in the show.
Yeah.
But right now she's very like happy-go-lucky. I can't wait to like go to balls and parties and like get married and like whatever.
I remember thinking that, and when I read Eloise's book, that she was like very different in the book than how she than how I would have expected her book to be.
That's why I'm team give Eloise a girlfriend in the show. I'm just like, it just absolutely does not make sense that Eloise of the show would like want to like would be attracted to a man. It's just like Eloise in the show is a lesbian. Like I don't make the fucking rules. It's just like if you didn't want her to be a lesbian, you shouldn't have written her to be a lesbian.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. If she gets a pixie cut in season 3, like we know which way the wind is blowing. That's all I'm saying.
And Benedict to get a boyfriend just because it'd be way better than the Sophie plotline.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Make the Bridgertons gay. Statistically, it doesn't make sense for them all to be straight. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like 1 in 10 people are gay. Doesn't make sense.
Just like swap, like Eloise and Sophie and Benedict can go putz off to the country with whatever the fuck his name was.
No, here's my thing. Here's my wish for Eloise's season. It's all the same. So we still get like that Sound of Music element, but it's Philip's heretofore unmentioned sister. So both Philip and Marina are dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Philip's sister is like this cool, funky single aunt who has been forced to like raise her niece and nephew.
Or Philip dies instead of Marina. Like that's even simpler.
Yeah, but then Marina's still in the picture.
Yeah, Marina and Eloise get together.
No, I don't like that. Marina was an annoying character. I don't like her enough for her to be. Also, she's just too straight. I just don't get gay vibes from Marina.
Yeah, I guess.
But Philip's heretofore unnamed lesbian sister, on the other hand. So both Philip and Marina die. Then Eloise, like, she's academic. Like, she's interested in stuff. She's been corresponding with Philip this whole time, talking about, like, botany. And then Philip's heretofore unnamed sister starts writing back after Philip dies and just doesn't tell her. And so they, like, really, really bond over, like, these letters. And then, like, she rolls up. And then Philip's lesbian sister is like, oh my God, like, I didn't expect you to discover that I was a woman. And Eloise just like hangs out with her, and then they fall in love and like raise 2 children together.
So Ladies' Guide to Celestial Mechanics.
They don't raise children in Ladies' Guide.
Oh yeah, I guess. But the like finding out
this is a Sound of Music plot. It's a Sound of Music plot, but with lesbians.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll pitch it to the producers.
Yes, at the creators of Bridgerton, at Shonda Rhimes. You know where to find me at wereaditonenight@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Hit me up. Okay. I will write the whole season for you.
Yeah. So back to the drawing room. Anthony has now decided that for some reason he needs to start chugging tea. Oh, no. This is like another day, right? He's like at his club.
This is the same time.
He's at his club. He comes home. Oh, yeah. He already came home early. Yeah. He's decided that for some reason he needs to like chug the tea to get it out of the way so that he can like grab Kate and start like, start making out with her. Yeah. And so he's like chugging it. They like have sex in the drawing room. He still doesn't go down on her even once.
He does at least finger her. We do get some fingering. You know what I mean? There's some you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's curled up together at night and there's a thunderstorm and Kate starts having a nightmare and Anthony is very cute and he keeps trying to cover her ears so she doesn't hear it, but like she does. And she has like a nightmare and she sits up in bed and she's like, "Mama, no!" And like she's having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And like they very explicitly said multiple times that Kate doesn't call Mary mama, which I was like a little peeved about, but like I was like, I guess it's necessary in this case because like Kate needs to know, or Anthony needs to know that she's like talking about her birth mother and not Mary.
Yeah. And Mary always goes out of her way to be like, even though I'm not your real mother, I always try to be a mother to you. I always treat you like my daughter, even though you're not my daughter. You just need to know you're not my daughter. And I get where she's coming from. Like she like is trying to keep Kate's mother's memory alive, and like she goes and visits her like gravestone and everything, and like talks to her. But I don't know. I feel like there's another way that could have been communicated besides like, just so you know, you're not my daughter. I love you like you're not my daughter though. You're not.
I love you like one, but listen, we're not related in any way.
No confusion on this issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So Anthony is like, "Bro, you had a nightmare." And Kate is like, "It's time to confront Mary about my childhood trauma."
And so Mary's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you still get upset over thunderstorms. Like I would have told you this a long time ago. I just thought that you were over it. So there was no point like rehashing old trauma." So Mary wasn't there for this, but Kate's dad told her. And for some reason, even I guess he must have been like a really good storyteller because like the effect that it has on Mary, like she's like crying, you know, like she's like really traumatized, even though she didn't witness this. But she's like, "It was a dark and stormy night. Your mother was dying of lung disease. It wasn't a gentle death. Lung disease often isn't." And this is what I thought throughout COVID. I read this at the beginning of COVID. And I just remember being like, oh my God, yeah, it's not a gentle death. People get vaccinated. Wear your masks.
Mask up, socially distance.
And 95s, baby.
And encourage your local officials to put quarantine measures into effect.
Yeah, goodness. It's not a gentle death. I'm very sorry to anyone who's lost.
Listen,
yeah.
Julia Quinn knows what she's fucking talking about because her husband is like a doctor, is an epidemiologist. No, he's specifically in like pandemics. Like he's like on the fucking like presidential board or something for like this. Like he's like a super expert specifically in pandemics. He's
a physician specializing in infectious diseases.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Yep. Also a junior Olympic fencer. What a thing to like continue. What a thing to continue telling people about yourself at the age of like 50, whatever. That's more impressive. But like junior Olympic, like I'm sorry, that's cool, but like that's not something I would want to put in my bio at the age of like 55. Like whatever. That's like won the award for most Bible verses memorized.
And Julia Quinn has a lot of cool little medical tidbits in her books because her husband's like a super hotshot
like
doctor.
The fact that you can develop an allergy after, and it's often apparently more common to develop a bee sting allergy after being stung once.
And one of the later Bridgerton books has a malaria plotline, which is also an infectious disease.
And so Mary's like, your mother was dying. You were only 3 years old. So they tried to keep you away from her, but you like really missed her. You wanted to know what was going on. So when no one was paying attention, you snuck into her room and it was thunderstorming. And then right as the biggest, longest lightning strike hit the sky, your mother sat up and it looked like the sound was coming from her mouth and she was staring right at you. And then she died.
Also, Kate was like fighting the whole time. They were like, "Get out of the room." And she was like, freaking out. No. So it was like really, tense.
Right.
Yeah.
And ever since then, you were like afraid of thunderstorms. And Kate's like, "Wow, thank you for telling me. I feel like that was really important for me to know. I feel better." Anthony is like, I'd had no idea that Kate had any sense of her own mortality.
I wrote that down too.
Most people didn't. And just Anthony at it again. Like, dude. He literally thinks that every thought that graces his like royal brain is like is original and no one else can ever have had the same thought.
I'm like, yeah, no, most people don't think about dying but yeah, because Kate's explicitly like, whenever there is a thunderstorm, I always feel like there's no way I can live through this panic attack. And Anthony is like, what? What is this? So shocked.
God.
But he also realizes now, to make up for him being just such a dummy, he realizes he's in love with her now. And then he panics naturally because, he's a man and he's like, I can't handle these feelings. What's going on? And they have hot sex. But then afterward, Kate is like, oh, I'm so glad that we get to have this, like, always and forever. And Anthony hears the word forever and he's like, shit. Fuck.
Mhm.
Like, I'm gonna die in 9 years. And he runs away.
Yeah, and so he's, like, a little bit jealous of her too because he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like, I still have my trauma, and I don't even have someone to blame. Like, I wish I could blame someone, but, like, it's just a fucking bee." And and he also I have several notes on this sex scene, which once again is just like penetration only, magical simultaneous climaxes, but whatever. He's like, if he could
Yeah,
have
just like,
drawn
I don't
her.
understand, like, eating, like, I feel like in historicals especially, like, the going down on her scenes are like always like some of the hottest scenes, I feel like.
Yeah, was that just like not a thing? Did they not like realize that was like an
No,
option?
it
Like,
definitely was because, like, the Wallflowers came out only like a few years after this, and there's
mm,
absolutely, and I'm pretty sure like Lord of Scoundrels came out before this. Also, yeah, I've definitely read books that have come out before this and around the same time. I think it just goes down to the fact that Julia Quinn is not a super steamy author, which is fine. Like,
Julia
that's not a
Quinn
criticism.
might just be like hashtag blessed and not realize that this is like rare.
Oh my god.
Good for her. But Anthony is like, if he could have drawn her within him, he would have done it and kept her there forever. And that's kind of some odd imagery there, Anthony. And it really reminds me, I know you haven't read this book, but in American Gods, which I do not
I have read
recommend.
that book. What are you
You
talking
have read
about?
the whole thing, American
Yeah.
Gods?
I listened to the audiobook.
Oh, it's so fucking boring. But
I
you've read
know.
it?
I listened to it
Okay.
in London on my
It's so
commute to school.
boring. I would not recommend it. However, there's that one, I forget if she's like Egyptian or something. I forget like what kind of goddess she is, but her whole thing is like posing as a sex worker and then like basically sucking up the men through her hoo-ha and like slurping them
Oh,
up. She's like
excellent.
worshipy. And that's the imagery I get here. Like it's just like a little weird there, Anthony.
Do you know what I got? So, have you ever heard of Tampon Gate?
What is that?
Okay, so Tampon Gate was a scandal between Prince Charles and Camilla,
Oh
in
yeah.
which there was like a recording of them, or like a letter, like some sort of like conversation between them was leaked, in which Prince Charles was essentially like, I wish I could be your tampon and like just be
Oh
carried around
yeah.
in your vagina like the whole time. And everyone was like, what the fuck? And
I
even
get
to this
it.
day, I'm like, what the fuck? Her tampon? Like,
I get
Jesus
it.
Christ.
I get it.
Yeah, anyway. But like,
Fucking
that's what it
weird.
reminded. Like, Anthony wants to be Kate's tampon.
Oh my god. No, but he doesn't want to be inside her. He wants to like slurp her
He
up.
wants Kate to be his butt plug.
Can I just say that when you said tampon gate, there were two other things that I immediately thought of. One was like, do you remember in high school, or I don't, you were in, I was in high school, you were maybe in high school, when there was like that thing about like people getting drunk by soaking tampons in vodka? That was my first thought. And then I was thinking about the NASA tampon situation where they were like trying to send 100 tampons up with like
100
for 1 week.
tampons. They sent a woman into space with 100 tampons.
Which like ridiculous. But would I rather have 100 tampons than like, not enough tampons?
Yeah.
Who's
Well,
to
question
say?
for you. In space, there's no gravity, right? In the space center.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
would you even leak, or would it just like stay up
Yeah.
there?
It's a great point.
Because I
I
feel
don't
like your
know.
uterus could definitely hold that much blood.
Mhm.
Like, it would eventually need to come out,
Mhm.
but it definitely doesn't need to, capacity
Well,
wise.
but I don't think it's just like gravity.
Why?
Because what are cramps? Aren't they like mini contractions? Like it is like pushing it down,
Well, here's the
expelling it.
thing. I do know explicitly that when I am asleep, my tampon is
Yeah.
always significantly, even during the heavier
Mhm.
days of my period, my tampon is always significantly
Mhm.
less soaked when I'm asleep than it is
Mhm.
during the day.
Let me look it up. I don't even know how to like phrase this Googling question though. Like I tried like does does it fall out or get pushed out during your period? Is blood like does it
But I thought okay,
how
here's the
does
thing
it get out?
with cramps. I thought cramps were just like practice contractions. I don't think they're like specifically for the blood. I thought they were just like practice contractions.
Well, but think about what's going on. It's the lining and it needs to get like pushed out. So the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's pushing it out, right?
I don't know.
I
But
don't
that
think
doesn't
what do you
explain,
mean
like, for example, why
practice? What do
I
you mean
don't have.
practice?
What do you mean?
What do you mean practice contractions?
Like, for when you actually give birth. Oh, no, I'm
No.
sorry. That's Braxton Hicks. Braxton Hicks this practice contraction.
Yeah, no, you're not just
I don't know, but that also doesn't explain, like, again, like, I've never had cramps.
No, I'm sure you've had the contractions, it just hasn't hurt. Like, it hasn't been bad enough, which is, like, normal. It's like how it's worse for some people. It's worse for some people than others when you actually give birth.
Sure. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Anthony is also like, yeah, he's like, I can't wait. I can't make this good for you. Okay, Anthony. Like, all right. But still, when they climaxed, it was fiery and it was simultaneous.
Of course.
Despite Anthony, no effort.
Like,
okay.
I guess his just,
and then he ditches her even though it's gonna rain.
Wait. Plot twist. Anthony has a spur.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I was like, that's what he needs. Like,
Anthony has a micro penis that goes up against her clitoris. That's a thing. You know who has you know who has two penises?
Who?
Stanley Eldridge, who played Prince Harry in the Lifetime version of William and Catherine: A Royal Romance. And because Kara and I watched that movie and we were like, oh, this actor is kind of cute. So we looked up his name. And the first thing that came up when we looked him up was like, I have two penises.
I am not finding anything about that.
For Stanley Eldridge, that he's taken it down. It was public information. It was the first Google search result.
Oh, man. I don't know why I'm laughing. That's like,
he had two penises. No, but he was like, in the article, he was like, yeah, it's great. Like, whatever. Like, I have two dicks. It's like he has like 1.5 dick. He has like a micro penis and a regular penis. So I'm saying,
that can happen.
I'm saying, Anthony, what if he has a micro penis and a regular penis? And that's why he never has to stimulate Kate's clit, because he has a little spur.
Yeah. Good for him. I mean, if you can get the job done with no effort, I'm just like very much doubting his ability to get the job done with no effort. But
maybe his dick just like hits the G
work
spot.
Smarter, not harder.
Right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's obviously what has to be happening. That's the only way you're going to get a penetration.
Well, unless he has,
unless it's like right. I know. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe like Julia Quinn / Kate is just like super lucky.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Anthony's running away. Eloise the next morning sends Kate a note, and she is like, "Come and get your man."
Yeah.
Like, he's here. Like, he's being a fucking loser.
Yeah.
And she rolls up. And yeah, this is also another situation in which Eloise feels a lot younger than she does in the show. And like a lot younger than Edwina, who like is theoretically the same age. Because Eloise is like, yeah, I was spying on Anthony and I was like waiting for him to come out and like all this, blah, 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 blah. And she just seems very much like she's 12 here, like not 17. But yeah, Kate goes in, wakes drunk ass Anthony up, and she's like, can we just fucking talk about this? And Anthony is like, no.
He very ironically, might I say, asks for, quote, just a few days before he tells Kate, which we roll back the tape to when she was like, can we wait a few days before having sex? And he's like, no. And he gets so angry, which like red flag in real life. Do not stand for that. Yeah. That is abusive. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I'm like, sir, like you really have the nerve. And she doesn't call him out on it, but like she really should have.
Yeah, so Anthony's like, Kate's like, whatever. She's like, fuck you. Like, whatever. I'm going home. Like, this is annoying. And Kate goes home, and then Anthony's like brooding in his club, and Colin and Benedict roll out, and they're like, LOL, did Kate kick you out of your house? And Anthony's like, no. What? And then Colin is like eating like some like nuts and like cracking them to like make Anthony's head hurt, but he's like eating them like very loudly and like chewing with his mouth open. And I was like, Rachel, you do that to me, but like I don't think it's on purpose. I think you just like do that to me. And it's horrible.
I don't eat nuts that often.
No, not just nuts. You just eat anything and you're like, God. Anyway, Benedict and Colin are both like, bro, just fucking tell her that you love her. Like, why are you being so stupid? And Anthony's like, well, I guess fine. Yes, I'm in love with her. And then he like runs off to tell her.
He's like, I'm still gonna die, but I might as well spend the rest of my life. You know, I wasn't planning to fall in love, but now that I have, I might as well spend it loving her, quote, openly and honestly, end quote. And what year did The Bachelor come out?
2001.
Oh, so this predates that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Julia Quinn, really, she's like inspiring The Bachelor, the Pussycat Dolls. She's really a trendsetter.
Well, be careful what you wish for is not.
Shh. But I do really, it's like all those people who like when Ariana Grande came out with like 7 rings or whatever, people were like claiming that like Favorite Things was like a ripoff. And I was like, ma'am, do not insult Julie Andrews like this or Rodgers and Hammerstein. Anyway, at this point I am very proud of Anthony for like unlearning his like toxic masculinity and like realizing that it's okay to have feelings and it's like okay to like be scared and like all of this shit and like you just need to be like open and vulnerable. And I'm like, good for you, Anthony. Like Probably would have been better if you got a therapist, but like you got there in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then he goes home. Kate's not home. She's on a curricle ride with Mr. Bagwell, the colonizer, Edwina, and in Rotten Row. Anthony goes on a dramatic ass horse sprint to like rush to Rotten Row to tell Kate that he loves her. And then he has to rescue her from a dramatic ass carriage crash. Like that happens in the park, and like Kate is stuck in the carriage and she has a broken leg and he has to pull her out, and as he's pulling her out, he's like it's not her time, no. And Kate is just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, bro, like what are you talking about? And also like as the carriage crashes, it's like, and Anthony, who had just learned to love, had to watch as his wife died before his eyes. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Anthony, she's not fucking dead. Like, chill out. But he's like taking her out, and Kate is like, why the fuck are you being so dramatic? Like, what are you talking about? And Anthony is like, oh, I love you. And she's like, good. And here's my thing about the carriage crash. I feel it's like on the tip of my brain that there is a reason for the carriage crash, that the carriage crash is necessary. And I feel it in my bones, but I can't articulate. Like it feels like it's necessary to like, in terms of not, because Anthony's already realized that he loves her, but like I guess in terms of like him overcoming this like mortality complex he has of like experiencing like near death in this way, like it's a shock to the system. Like I don't know, I'm having trouble articulating it, but it does feel, even though it's super dramatic, feel necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't know. Like, I think it just gives Kate the opening to be like, I could die next week. I could die whenever. Like, you can't, it's all like a fluke. Like, just because your dad died young, I could have died, like, then that wouldn't mean that you would die.
But she already gets that with like,
her
when
parents.
she's like, my mom died when I was 3.
Right.
Like, my mom died when she was my age. Like, are you saying that I should like die this year? And Anthony is like, what? And Kate's
but
like,
no one else loves their parents as much as I love my parents. No. So obviously not. I'm a one of a kind.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, they go home. Kate has broken her leg. Anthony gets 3 doctors and is like super antsy about like, he's like, what if she loses her leg? Like, oh my God. And Kate is like, can you just please simmer down for like 5 seconds and tell me why the fuck you were being so dramatic when you were rescuing me from the carriage crash? Like, what's up with that? And Anthony is like, yeah, well, I'm definitely going to die by the time I'm 38. He says it in a much more like emotional, like, I miss my papa way. But basically it boils down to, I'm going to die. And Kate is like, you're so stupid, but I love you anyway. Basically. She's like, listen, like, my mom's dead. I'm not going to die this year. Also, like, but she also is like she doesn't shame him. She isn't like, oh, you're crazy, which is like what Anthony was like afraid of, which is why he's never told anyone, because he's like, they're going to think I'm crazy. And she's like, I mean, I think that's like a valid fear.
An understandable reaction.
Yeah.
But also ridiculous. Yeah.
But she's like, I mean, I think you're wrong. But like also there's like no way, like we'll find out in 10 years if you're dead. You know what I mean? And like until then, like there's no point letting it run your life. And Anthony is like, yeah.
She's like, you don't have to get past it.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, yeah, they're just cute in bed together and they can't have sex.
Well,
and apparently Anthony like doesn't understand that like they don't have to have like penetrative sex. He can just like,
Well, I took issue with that because like, he's like, oh, well, we're not going to fuck today, but like, duh, we're going to fuck tomorrow. And I'm like, she just broke her leg. Like, let her, like, stop it. I recognize, but like, also, I don't know. I just feel like I can't remember what exactly about it was. But like, if she had been like, oh no, we can do other stuff. Like, let's do it. Okay, that's one thing. Yeah. But it was Anthony who was like, no, don't worry. We'll be back on the horse tomorrow.
But the problem is that Anthony, she doesn't know about the other stuff. Like, Anthony has never once introduced her to the other stuff.
He probably doesn't know.
He won't go down on her.
He doesn't know because he has the spur, so he doesn't need to know.
I know.
Although, as I said before, I don't really understand how the spur would work unless it like vibrates or something, but whatever. And then it would be really annoying because it would be like going on. Okay, never mind.
We don't have to, whatever.
We also find out that she's been taking flute lessons that weren't mentioned until a few chapters ago, just random flute lessons.
Well, they were mentioned at the beginning as well.
Oh, were they? Well, she's like, everyone told me I had to have started as a child to get truly good. And anyway, whatever. I don't know what my point was with that.
Well, in the epilogue, they like Lady Whistledown's writing a column about how Anthony has now also learned to play an instrument badly. And it's his 39th birthday. And they like put on a concert and like their son stands up and is like, Mom, Dad, shut the fuck up. Like this suck. You guys suck. And so it's just like a running gag throughout. Like they're both just like really bad at playing instruments, but like they don't care. Like they're just like having fun. And it's like nice. It's like Anthony learning to like find joy and like not be just like a brooding mess all the time. But yeah, Anthony turns 39 in the epilogue. And they're both like, wow, amazing. You didn't die. I'm shocked.
Yep.
Then we get the second epilogue, and it's just like another pall mall game. And they're still battling it out over the mallet of death. And we get a mention. I think this is when Anthony's like, I'm going to tie you up. And Kate's like, I don't know that I would mind that. And then we don't get to see it. And I'm like, Julia, please, please, please.
I know.
Unfortunately not. But they're still very cute 15 years later. And they have 4 children. And the first one is Edmund.
Classic. But Kate gets to tell Edwina it's named after her. I'm telling you, it's a double whammy. It's perfect.
Oh my God.
It's like
she
ideal.
does name her their last kid. She names her Mary because Mary's dead by the time that rolls around. I don't know why Mary dies so young, but like she does.
Everyone dies young, and yet when it's convenient, them dying young is like tragic.
Well,
when it's
canon.
Also, when it's convenient, it's like obviously they were so old they died.
But we do get a canon statement from Julia Quinn in the author's note that Anthony lives until 92.
Oh yeah.
So keep that in mind. Anthony gets to ride on a train. Exciting times. He lives long enough.
Yeah. And his Edmund gets to be a duke when he's like, what's the math on that? Like 68.
Viscount.
I'm sorry, Viscount. Edmund doesn't get to be a Viscount until he's like 68. Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
Can you step down?
What?
Can you step down or no? Can you step down and leave it to your son?
I think you
like retire. Like
no,
the queen
I
could
think
step
once
down.
you have it for life, but you can refuse to accept it. I mean, it's like a big, complicated process, and I'm pretty sure it costs a lot of money for you to be like, no, I don't want it. Give it to the next person in line. But once you have it, it can't be taken away.
Yeah, I guess if you had the option, it could also be like taken away to be like you'd be threatened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you have it, it can't be taken away, but you can refuse. Like in certain circumstances, you can refuse to accept it. Anyway, this is a momentous occasion. We're doing the Catskill on the book that started it all. What are we thinking?
I mean, honestly, I recognize that it started it all, but I didn't really get super strong cat vibes.
Besides the fact that Anthony is compared several times explicitly to a cat.
Well, first of all, her name is presumably like short for something. You know, it's like Catherine probably.
It's Catherine Sheffield. It is specifically
Catherine. Yeah. But she chooses to go by Kate instead of Cat. So that's like already, you know, a missed opportunity there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't feel like as much as they were both like grumpy and like enemies to lovers, I don't think either of them was a cat. Anthony is like a rescue dog that just needs some like gentle love to like be sweet. You know what I mean?
No, Anthony is like a fucking...
He's a traumatized rescue dog that used to be in dog fighting.
He's like a purebred Pomeranian who like accidentally gets left behind in the move and is like like and just like won't accept. It's like, why the fuck am I at a shelter? Like, get me away from these plebeians. And, like, demands its own cage. And it's like
what's Kate?
Kate's a corgi. No, I don't know.
No, Kate's a big dog. Kate's like a golden retriever or something.
Kate's like a Labradoodle.
Or like she's like a German Shepherd. She's like smart, but like also like friendly. Yeah, maybe like a black lab.
Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1, 6,
5.
Did you delay?
No.
It was at the same time. So delayed from my end. It was like 6.
We said it at the same time.
I believe you. It's just so delayed.
Yeah. So 5.5.
Nice.
Slightly above average. Ha. Ha 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 ha. I tricked you.
Oh no.
Into doing a 0.5 again.
So, Alison, where can they find us?
Well, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at We Read It One Night, on Twitter at We Read It Podcast, or you can email us, wereaditonenight@gmail.com. And you can also send us your love and devotion in the form of a rating and or a review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
But specifically and newly on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yeah. Spotify lets you review now, so no excuse, babes. 5 stars, that stuff, please. Lovelies, comrades, join the revolution. We are dismantling the patriarchy one cat at a time. Anyway,
Godspeed.
Godspeed, comrades.